Yes, I am live. It's not showing me that indication. Maybe there's a delay. Am I live or no? I guess I'm live. Hello? Testing, testing, testing. Here, let's bring this Yeti here. Am I good? Am I live? Okay, so you guys have been wanting me to do this video on Saturn Return, and especially people in my students in the academy were asking for this. So I'm like, okay, might as well just make it here, for everyone. And I also just uploaded my video of conjunctions, a new series on KRS vlogs of understanding conjunction in a much easier way. Some of the things that I can't discuss on YouTube, because again, a lot of you guys are like, you keep saying, I can't discuss a lot of things here. Well, what can we learn this? I'm like, okay, fine. So on KRS vlogs, I will be like today, I just uploaded my first video of understanding conjunction, which has positive, negative, both. So just be warned that there I can discuss a lot of things. I actually put up a warning video there on KRS vlogs, which you will find on KRSchannel.thinkeffect.com. Now, Saturn return. So first of all, Saturn return occurs when for especially between the ages of 28 and 30, right? Because in that period you will have Saturn come into the same signs as it was at your birth. Then it also goes retrograde. So we give this 2 year significance, because Saturn is 2.5 years actually, because Saturn is in a one particular sign for 2.5 years. So right now, as you know, Saturn is transiting Capricorn. Next year, from January, I believe 15th or 20th, it'll enter Aquarius for 2.5 years. Now it's not going to come back into Aquarius because it just went into Aquarius right in the beginning of this year and then came back into Capricorn. So first thing, what is the basic understanding of Saturn return? See, originally, which houses does Saturn control? Originally, from Aries, it controls the 10th house of your profession, your work environment. Okay. Profession and work environment. It is also, in a way, shows your reputation. 10th house is your reputation out in the world. Then it also controls the 11th house with Aquarius, along with Rahu, co-rulers. Aquarius, okay, Kumbha, represents what? This pouring of water, right? What is water especially known as? It's known as, if you can say, Jala Tattva, Venus, but also Moon. Who rules and who exalts in the sign of Taurus of wealth and money? Moon and Venus, right? Moon and Venus. And Moon actually considers Taurus as Mul Trikon sign in the sign of Taurus. So Aquarius naturally represents your desires. That Jala Tattva, that water being poured, is also connected with Moon and Venus, which is what I'm trying to say. Is your fulfillment of desires. So now in Capricorn, when Saturn is here, it is naturally going to bring a activation and a new charge to your profession, regardless of which house Saturn is placed in. It could be your ascendant, or it could even be your 8th house, as if you're, let's say, Gemini ascendant. But it is charging your profession. It is now showing that this particular time, I'm going to bring a change into your profession. Whether you change a job, whether you go from a job to business, whether you get laid off, whether you now want to attain higher education because of your work, I'm going to be bringing this change in. The other simple thing in Aquarius, fulfillment of desire. in Aquarius, when Saturn comes in, it's going to now mainly focus on your desires. Like, my desire is this, so now I'm going to do this. So let's say right now, till beginning of next year, and since the last 2.5 years, Saturn being in Capricorn, you're focused on work. Okay, I have to do this for work. I have to do that for work. I have to change this to better my work. I am worried about my work, right? Especially with the pandemic, everybody has been worried about their work. Now, in Aquarius, what it shows that, okay, well, work is here. Now I want to focus on this desire that I have. So those who have Saturn in Aquarius naturally at birth, Saturn is going to go over that Saturn. So now what Saturn is going to do, you're going to be like, okay, my work is here. Fine. I want to quit my job. Let's say you got laid off from your work. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying if you have those combinations in your work, then it will happen. But what happens with Saturn and Aquarius now will be like, I'm tired of just looking for work. I want to focus on my desire. But perhaps I want to join some political party because my desire has been in politics. I want to do this. I'm going to do that. My desire is to become an astrologer. I'm going to go towards learning astrology. My desire is to attain and get initiated into Kriya Yoga, which you should be doing regardless of the Saturn return. I'm going to do that. So now here Saturn focuses on the desire. Literally, because we're almost now over, let's focus on the Aquarius theme. When Saturn transits into your, let's say, 4th house, sudden desire towards wanting to attain a property comes into play. You want resources for properties. 11th house, Aquarius, is resources. It's the rasa, the juice, right? In Hindi, we say nichod ke nikalo, meaning you squeeze a lemon and the juice comes out. You're getting the resources of that particular thing, right? So if let's say this lighter is a fruit, it's a lemon. When you squeeze it, the juice comes out. You want that rasa. It's the rasa. So somebody just said in the comment, "Oh, I have Saturn return going to be happening in my 5th house." Well, because you're now between 28 and 30, and remember, this is not just 28 and 30. And this is something K.R. Rao has said in his book. I believe it was Destiny, Yogi's Destiny and a Wheel of Time. That age of 30 and 60 becomes the most transformative period in a person's life. Why is he saying that? Because that's the second Saturn return. He actually used the word 60, but if we use our own brain, we can see 28 to 30, 58 to 60 becomes this period of Saturn return. So it's not just Saturn return for people who are in their 28 and 30. This is also the transformative period for people who are turning 60. So let's say in the 5th house, if you're 30, most definitely there's going to be desire for having children, especially in a female's chart, because females will think about more than even the male, but they'll be like, you know what? I want to have children. So what happens between 28 and 30, you will see, especially in a female chart, they become very strong about wanting to get married. Like if they were more career oriented, education oriented before, now they're like, suddenly things are changing. Saturn is changing their goals. Their goals. 11th house is our desire, but it's also our goals. So now our goals become about children. If somebody's turning 58 to 60, you know what their goal is going to be. First of all, yes, regardless of Saturn return, they will always look for betterment of their children, even if their children have children. Now, between 58 and 60, you will see a lot of people suddenly take on religious studies. This is why when we were growing up, we saw our old uncle and grandparents always wanting to read Bhagavad Gita, or they're using the beads and doing the Ramayana. What happens? 5th house is mantras. It's mantras, but it represents learning of a religious text, spiritual religious text. Okay. So now suddenly that desire becomes active. Even if, let's say, this is happening in your 10th house, 10th house Saturn will also, whether it's Capricorn or Aquarius, can bring in sudden desire to do repetitive mantras through the beads. Desire to do some sadhana. Why? Because 10th house is sixth from the fifth house. Fifth house is mantras, 10th house becomes routine of that fifth house. So usually you will see, even I've seen, when fifth lord is in the 10th house, a lot of people like to work with children in their daily work life, like becoming a teacher, becoming a pediatrician, going towards pediatric nurse, child psychologists, because again the karma of the fifth house of children is now going to the 10th house. But I'm just saying, I mean, this is not in concrete and stones, but this is how you need to look at things. So now let's say Saturn is, let's say, going over moon in Aquarius, right? What's going to be the desire? There'll be sudden desire for traveling. You'll be like, I want to travel to this place and I'm going to do it. Why? Because moon becomes the significator of travel. There'll be sudden desire with the moon to wanting to attain a home. Saturn, it actually activates. See, when it goes, it's not even desire, it activates that. Either one will move with Saturn going over moon, or one will travel. It is to happen that it does that. It'll bring the resources. Again, even if you think you don't have resources, it brings the resources in to give that thing to you. If, let's say, Saturn is going over Venus, wealth comes in, relationship happens. Saturn's going over Sun, Jupiter, children come in. Children happens. Long distance pilgrimage can take place. You will meet a guru during this time. You will meet a mentor during this time. Father will take on some kind of a religious or spiritual journey, because Jupiter is the original ninth lord of the father. Sun is naturally the father. Okay. You can have a change of work when Saturn goes over Sun in its Saturn return. If so, let's say your Saturn return is happening in Aquarius. Saturn is there and Sun is there. So remember, when I'm talking about these planets, they're naturally conjunct Saturn. I hope you're getting this. Is it complicated or is it simple? Let me know so I can explain it. Yes? No? Should I be explaining this again? So let's say I'm talking about moon. Saturn going over moon, you're going to be traveling. Right? Saturn going over moon, move happens to from one place to other. Why is that happening? Because Saturn are both conjunct in Aquarius. The lord of the karma is with Chandra, it's with moon. It goes over it, it activates the Saturn of that profession naturally. So the desire for profession comes in, but also at the same time is going to make you move or travel. With Mercury, you are definitely going to attain some new skill. Mercury is a skill. You're going to be going and attaining a new skill. Even if you're a PhD, you will attain some new skill. I actually know somebody close to me who's a PhD. They're getting some new skills, especially related to James Webb Telescope. Saturn goes over Mars. So that means Saturn, Mars are together. You will see this person will go towards focusing on health, will start doing physical activities. Saturn is going to force them to do physical activities, whether it's to join a gym or whether they have to do a lot of work around the house. Saturn is going to do that. You will also gain some technical skill, because Mars is technical skill. And again, property comes in. because Mars is the Karka of the fourth house along with Moon. It's not just Mars, it's Moon. Moon, Mars, both are the Karka of the fourth house. Moon also naturally controls the fourth house of homeland real estate. And then when Saturn, let's say, goes over Jupiter, you will have certain judgments that can go into your favor. You will receive honor from your managers, from your counselors. Saturn suddenly will activate you will take some, you will. It's not like it's may or maybe. We're talking about will. You will take steps towards either towards attaining postgrad education or or meeting a guru or having a desire to meet a guru. So you will try that. Saturn will bring Saturn, Jupiter. So naturally, Saturn, Jupiter are together. Saturn's going over it. It brings a transformation in your father's profession, change in father's profession. Rahu. Rahu is the original 11th Lord. Rahu is something which is unorthodox, foreign, something big, right? Something which is outcast. So, because Saturn and Rahu are naturally together, naturally this person will, first of all, you will see they will start taking some kind of a medicine or herb, because Saturn and Rahu conjunction. See, Rahu is also poison. Saturn is representing um, taking off taking off medicines with Rahu, making of medicines, because Saturn is mechanical, like mechanics. So you will see that, but especially with Saturn, Rahu shows promotions and gains comes in one's workspace. Recognition comes in at your work. Ketu. Ketu is moksha, spirituality. Ketu is actually also a reflection of Mars. Ketu represents animals, dogs. Saturn is naturally dogs. Ketu is also flags, Davaj. So one thing you will see with Saturn, Ketu together in the birth chart, Saturn going over Ketu. And remember, Ketu is also the original co-ruler of the 8th house. You will see even people who are not listening to me here, Saturn going over Saturn, Ketu together. Suddenly, these people will desire to change the job. Number one. Okay. These people will also run into occult knowledge. They will run across, so people who are new get interested in newly in astrology. You will see this happens with them. They will start to get interested in occult and hidden knowledge. And also, such people with Saturn and Ketu together, Saturn Ketu together in the birth chart is like a brahmachari yoga. So you will see they will get disinterested in work, more interested in spirituality, more interested in going to places like especially temples that may have flags on them. A lot of government job can be acquired during this time with Saturn Ketu conjunction with Saturn going over it, because what do you see on government buildings? What do you see on government buildings? It's a flag. Saturn, did I cover Venus or no? So let's say Venus, Saturn are conjunct together. Gains of money happens, gains of relationship will happen. Okay. Sudden love for luxury foods will happen. Vehicle comes in a person's life. So even though we always say that look at the dasha and then look at the transit, but this is one particular thing where you may not have to worry about the transit. You actually now can see such things manifesting. Because see, Saturn is the karka of the karmas, right? We all know this. Karma is something you do. It's karma is like kriya yoga, do the yoga, do that thing. So Saturn's gonna make you do that thing. So when Saturn goes over Saturn, we already discussed this, but so the other planet, their significance then can come into play. Now, does anybody have three planetary conjunction with Saturn? Saturn conjunct some planet. Hold on, why is my mouse disappeared? Okay. Uh, Anybody? Okay, so Alpa A said Saturn, Mars, Sun in the 10th house for Taurus ascendant. So they're in Aquarius, right? So when you have these three planets, now Sun is going over it. First of all, you will be getting some kind of a promotion as Saturn is going over it. Also, during this period, we see that you're going to gain through government. If you have brothers, brother will suddenly get a better job. If brother's doing a business, then brother will gain through that job. And at the same time, this particular conjunction, because Saturn is going over it, not all the time, can also signify birth of a male child. And if you look, Saturn, Sun, and Mars are together, right? So original first and eighth lord, fifth lord, 10th and 11th lord are all conjunct together. So it shows that one is going to be fighting a battle at work and winning. There will be some battle that you will fight at work and then you will win that battle. Why? Because of the 10th house I'm saying this, because I'm not saying this with any other houses. Sun and Mars both receives directional strength in the 10th house. What happens with Saturn, the karka of work, Mars, your yourself actually, and your fighting ability, Sun, the soul. Okay, so soul and yourself originally, it's who you are. You have the directions. You get the direction of achieving your goals. Saturn is naturally again become the karka of goals because it's the 10th and 11th lord. You achieve your goals through a fight. You know which way, where do you need to go in life. You get the support of Mars and Sun type people, which is male co-workers, bosses, father-like figures that will help you to achieve your success in your career. Okay, why is my chat stuck? Okay, so fight. Saturn is retrograde in Dhanishta in Aquarius, 11th house for Aries ascendant. So, and then Saturn is going over it. So, with going over it, see what happens is when a planet is retrograde, it is first of all unfinished karmas. And with Saturn going over Saturn, so Saturn is going over Saturn in the Dhanishta nakshatra, and it's retrograde. So first thing you will see that there's this unfinished desire for helping people, naturally a large crowd of people. So your desire from past life is to help a large group of people. You have a strong karma with even conferences here. You will see the more you meet people in a large conference, the large group settings, the more you feel you are going to achieve higher success. Dhanishta represents the rhythm of life. It's a musical instrument. It's land. So what it shows here, well, Saturn goes over your Saturn in the Dhanishta, which will literally be in the first 6 months. You're going to desire to attain a land. You're going to attain a land that could be owed to you from past life. And also with Dhanishta, you will find solution, because with this Dhanishta, I can see there would be some issue with the knee in your life. You will find solution to improve that condition of the knee, or not knee, the area like the calf and the shank area. And I also see your elder sibling, or you may attend a musical concert which is related to older form of music, like some kind of like an older classical music, or they will be using a very old form of musical instrument. So you will be in a large crowd, okay, large place, like like concert is like an Aquarius sign, and again musical instruments are being played. So and retrograde, that's different, but Saturn just going over, Saturn is going to do that. Okay. And of course it's also, I don't know if um how much you know astrology, but it shows there's some unfinished karma related to Vastu. Dhanishta is connected with Vastu. Saturn represents the construction of something. Okay, so Saturn is naturally constructing. It's not, see, Mars is land, Moon is land, Saturn represents the structure on the land. So there will be this desire to build some structure that you have been lacking from previous life. There's obviously strong karma either with father paternal, meaning younger sibling, meaning your uncle, or you owe something even to your elder sibling with this. But again, if we know the pada, then we'll know more details on these things, and especially the dasha that you're going through, because sometimes the retrograde karma may not just happen with the fully happen with the Saturn return, because with that you'll also have to see Rahu as well. um so let's see, two. Okay, that's can't answer that one here. So food, okay. Some of you guys are asking these questions I may not be able to answer here on YouTube. Um so no, don't give me like your other placement. This is simply for the Saturn return. This is simply for Saturn return. Man, this is like going fast. Okay. So Ankiti Canal sets Saturn plus Sun in the 12th house in Aquarius, right? So that means you're a Pisces ascendant. Saturn is in the 12th house with Aquarius. So 6th and 12th Lord are now conjunct. 6th house is work. 12th house is foreign lands. Sun also represents your soul, father. Saturn is also your 11th lord of desire, sitting in the 12th house. So if, let's say, you are in some country with Saturn going over it, you will get an opportunity to work in a foreign place. And I also see father will, if father's in the picture, father will attend a large group setting with people, especially in a spiritual place. Like maybe going attending some ashram, going and meeting some guru where other people are there. And also what this shows, a lot of things are seen with this Saturn and Sun in Aquarius. Um, but I would probably more discuss this in my KRS vlogs. But again, the main thing you will see, opportunities of foreign lands come in. You will travel to foreign lands to attend conferences. Okay. And also, one of the big things, Sun is the sixth lord of debts, loans. It's in the 12th house with Saturn. Okay. And Saturn is going over it. You will, if depending upon what your age is, because see, we have to understand the age and where you are at. You're not going to do this at the age of 15. But one can take on a loan for making it construction in one's home, constructing something, taking a loan for some construction. So people who get home equity loans, because again, there's that desire. Saturn is naturally represents that construction, but also there would be a natural desire again to take on uh, debts related to foreign lands or foreign travels, putting money on credit card and traveling to foreign lands. Okay. But see, most of the conjunction that you guys are saying, this is something I'll be much more open to discuss on KRS vlogs when you have watched my first video of, giving that special message and then reading the results. Because again, I can say something to you with your Saturn Sun conjunction in the 12th house, and everybody will probably think that is going to happen to them as well. And so this is why um, you have to see the individual chart always, because maybe what could happen is you're telling me your Sun and Saturn are in the 12th house. Your ascendant could be at a border where within a minute it's going, let's say, into the 11th house instead of the 12th house because of the change of ascendant, or 12th house to the Lagna. So you see, so for me to say all of it, again, it has to be just seen in a certain way. So, I mean, I hope this, I just wanted, I see where my whole point with this Saturn return is to get to the point. As long, if you can make astrology as simple where it can be discussed within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that's when you know that the other person will learn astrology or understand something. For me to make this video into a 2-hour video doesn't do anything. I went straight to the point with what Saturn will do in Saturn return with Aquarius and what it will do when it goes over planets. It's that simple. Like, for example, then you can just use the houses. Okay. If Saturn is going over Mars, or let's say Moon in the sixth house, and they're conjunct Saturn itself with the Saturn return, one of your maternal aunts or uncles, they'll be purchasing a home or moving into a new home. Simple. If it's happening in the ninth house, it could be happening with your father. 11th house, elder sibling. Third house, younger sibling or neighbor. You will have neighbor buy a property and they will move. So if Moon and Saturn, Moon or Mars or Saturn are in the third house, Moon, Saturn, Mars are in the third house together in your birth chart. Saturn is now going over it next year, right? Saturn return is happening. Change in your neighbor will happen, meaning they could purchase a new property and they will move. So this is how you will see and understanding. One thing I will say with Saturn and Rahu, if your Saturn and Rahu are together, Saturn's going over it, be careful of the new opportunities you get or new people you meet. Because then there's this element of you being cheated with that particular group of people. So that's something you should just be aware of. So whenever Saturn and Rahu are going over, especially it's the third or 11th house, the connections you make, especially when Saturn is 5 degrees below Rahu, okay, and above 5 degrees of Rahu, whatever new person comes in your life, new organization comes in your life, this is where you just have to be careful that whatever they have promised. So if somebody makes a promise with Saturn Rahu together, with Saturn going over it in Aquarius, say, can you give me this in writing? If it says, don't worry, I'm gonna make sure we do this together. Forget I'm an old traditional person and I'm shake of hands, meaning it's my word. No, you gotta have that in writing. Especially with the third and 11th house, have things in writing before you feel that they're gonna do what they're gonna do. Why? Because fifth from trine from Rahu and Saturn will become the third house. Either that they're in the third house or trine from it becomes the third house of writing. Have that, whatever word is being spoken as a promise, have that in writing. And you will see with Saturn, Rahu together with Saturn going over it, whomever you tell somebody with a new opportunity, can you give this me in writing? Oh, you're giving me this offer verbally for my work. Can you give me this in writing? Next thing you know, they will be like either not returning your calls or they will just simply move on to somebody else. So you know they were not going to give it to you. But it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. You will get something that you want. That is the planet of desire. But you just want to be careful during those particular set of degrees. Okay, because Rahu represents cheating, right? Like the moon. And Saturn is work. So one could be, especially professionally, feel like they might be cheated, especially due to some promise. So always take it in writing. And especially, you got to understand, like I said, Mercury is writing. Saturn rules the 10th house of government stamp or any kind of a stamp that says, okay, this is it. Mercury is the national karka of the 10th house. So whenever you sign something, it becomes legal. Okay, whenever you sign something, it then becomes legal. So once that they're in that bondage. Now they're not, because now when something is written and then somebody screws over you, then they get the karma, not you. And of course, if you have Saturn Rahu and especially Mercury there, Saturn, Rahu, Mercury are together, and Saturn is now going over as your Saturn return. Don't make empty promises. You get into a relationship, you tell somebody, I'm going to marry you. You better not. You better not back away from that promise just because you found somebody who's better looking and better this. You better fulfill that promise, because otherwise you're going to have to then come back, fulfill that promise with that person from another life. So don't, with this particular conjunction, or even let's say you have Saturn, Rahu, Moon, you don't cheat someone in something. Don't make empty promises about something, especially related to money or some fixed asset. So it's not just you have to be careful from other people. Other people who might do this to someone else could also be watching me here. So it's a very important time, because what happens is, this is why KN Rao said 60th year becomes extremely important for a major transformation in a person's life, because Saturn will see what you did in your first Saturn return. And then it will return that. It's going to do a second judgment on you at the age of 60. It's kind of like kind of like an annual review. You got the warning in your first one that, listen, I want you to work hard. You're not working in this, you're not working at that, but we'll see in your next review. So next review comes into play. So 60th year becomes very strong, just like the Saturn return here. See, first Saturn return could be forgiven because this is your first return of your karma. Saturn's like, okay, you've made all these mistakes, don't make them again. But the 60th one, you're mature now. You're in that cycle of Saturn at the age of 60. And this is why Saturn then judges. Like, what did you do with your mature consciousness? Okay, so uh, don't be fooled and don't fool anyone. Okay. So anyway, I don't want to take too much time of yours. This was my video of Saturn return. And remember, I'm going to be doing the conjunction video on KRS vlogs. And of course, when Saturn goes direct, we'll start the Vastu course on Vedic Astrology Academy. All right. We'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.